Welcome to the Circle Sessions featuring the Circle of Experts. Each week, one of the Circle of Experts joins me to talk about critical aspects of growing your podcast. We focus on marketing, social media, monetization, and website design to help you implement all of these together. The Circle of Experts are Yasmine Robles from Robles Designs, Tanisha English-Amamu of TJE Communications, and Don the Idea Guy. I'm Brett Johnson, my podcast guy from Circle 270 Media Podcast Consultants. This week, Yasmine is here from the Circle of Experts. Yasmine works alongside clients to design a website that's driven by strategy, looks amazing, and that you can actually use to grow your podcast and then in turn your business as well. Yasmine, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me as always.
Yeah, so this week, we want to talk about, this episode I should say specifically, effective website and marketing tasks during slow seasons. That's an interesting thought because, most businesses and even podcasters per se have those slower seasons, or maybe it's a break between seasons, things to do. So what should small business owners focus on during slow seasons regarding their websites?
Yeah, so we've all been there, whether you're just a podcaster or a small business owner, even a big business, right? We all go through these slow seasons, and it's trying to figure out what we can do. So slow seasons are really a perfect opportunity if you want to think of it that way. I know we might have anxiety about it, but it's really a perfect opportunity for small business owners to optimize their websites and really tackle those things that they've been putting off. A couple of things that I recommend doing. When it comes to site performance and you have a little bit of time left over during a slow season, is just going in, and you can listen back to some of our previous talks, but looking at site speed. And what that means is really testing and just looking for simple ways that you can improve loading speed, loading time on your website to make that user experience easy, because people are not going to wait for things to load a long time. Um, Double check your mobile responsiveness. A lot of the platforms that are available now, they usually come with some kind of responsiveness. They try to rearrange everything so it's less work on you, but some of them might rearrange it differently. Sometimes we miss things when we're creating pages and so on. So just look at your pages, check them out on mobile, on tablet, see how responsive they are. Again, just giving everything a once over. And then the user experience. So really think about, and I think we've done a couple of episodes ago, maybe about audits and things like that, but
Yeah.
conduct a really thorough audit to figure out or just identify issues that you might be having. So it could be navigation or anything else. So just look at your site from the perspective of the user as a new person, and look at your visuals. So if your profile photo or your headshot is about 5 years old, maybe this is the perfect opportunity to find a blank wall and some lighting and get a new photo up on your website. Just check the visuals. If you have, for some reason, some kind of tech on a background image or anything like that, maybe double check that it's not too obvious and it's like a BlackBerry, right?
Oh
You
gosh.
want
Oh
to
my
make sure
gosh.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So unless that's your thing, you want to make sure if that's why I try not to photograph a lot of techie things. But if for some reason that you are, maybe there is a brand photo that where you're holding your favorite old school flip phone, that might be cool. But if maybe you should change that. And then a little bit deeper dive. And again, we've talked about this in previous episodes, but SEO optimization. First, make sure that you're tracking it. So if you haven't done that, make sure you install like Google Analytics, Google Search Console. Hotjar is also a free option to install for more so for the recording and user experience performance. But for SEO, make sure that since the Google Analytics and Google Search Console are installed. And then just check in on it, see how it's been doing. What are you coming up for? Are there keywords that you wanted to come up for before the slow season? You got busy, and now that you're slower, is it possible to tweak some of the text on the site to really pinpoint or point an arrow towards those keywords? Look at your keywords, meta descriptions, and again, just kind of take this time, take a deep breath. I mean, it's again anxiety because we're slow, or you might be in the slow season whenever it is during the year. but it's a time to evaluate where your website is and how it can help you perform better. Think of this as giving your site a little bit of TLC and making sure it's just running smoothly.
Yeah, going on to our next thought, I reposted an interview I did with a gentleman. That interview is back 2 or 3 years ago. And so I started looking at the show description. I wanted to repurpose the interview itself because it's a good interview. So it's an episode back in November of this year posted. But I was looking at the blog post and looking at his description, his job title, and was like, oh my gosh, he's changed jobs. And the description was not completely wrong, but it wasn't up to date. And to your point, now we want to talk about content updates.
Mhm.
You know, how important are those during these times?
Yeah, it's a really great time to make these updates. So, depending on the type of site that you have, Um, if it's a very lightweight website, let's say you have just like your homepage about maybe about like a podcast page, take a look and make sure that if you're mentioning dates or, for
Yeah.
example, how long have you been in business? For a while, even your LinkedIn profile. So for a while, my LinkedIn profile, I think, said 6 years of design experience. And at that point, it was 10 years. And I was like, well, I have to update this.
That, and just that little bit, you wouldn't think it, but to me, going into double digits, that's a
Yeah,
huge thing. All of a
yeah,
sudden you could say, I'm over 10 years doing something, or
mhm,
nearly whatever. It makes a big difference when the
yeah.
reader sees that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So look through the site and double check things like dates. You can double check if you do, for some reason, have something on your about you and your profile and the experience. Make sure that if you've gotten additional certifications, you're updating that. Now, when it comes to if you have a transcript of an episode or maybe an article that's part of an episode, like one of your podcasts, double check it, see if the information is a little bit older. So, for example, I did mention Hotjar, right? If they, I hope not, but if they for some reason shifted their model or it was no longer free or they went out of business, then we would need to go in there and tweak it or at least make a footnote of, or in parentheses, say, no, as of 2024, whatever, no longer in business. Um, Check those. And if you're a blogger, I would say, and you make all of these listicles, for example, the top 10 places to eat in Columbus, Ohio for 2024. Well, we're getting towards the end of 2024. Start to evaluate what you can do for 2025. Those are really easy, not easy, but those are really great to update because it'll keep the bots love a fresh site. So it'll keep it fresh, it'll keep it new. And if you do have a listicle of the top, let's say, marketing agencies in Columbus, then you'll want to make sure that the links that you're sending people to are updated, that they're still in business, that if it is a restaurant, do they still offer the same stuff? So you just want to make sure that that is updated because you're not only will those people appreciate it or the people that you've interviewed appreciate that you're updating an article, but the user who's coming to it will appreciate it.
Yeah, that's a really good point in regards to updating, especially if it's a list of top 10 restaurants, or especially if it's a category very volatile. That it's like
Hmm.
they close in a heartbeat, or
Yeah,
or new ones come into play, that sort of thing. But yeah,
yeah.
that's a good point. If you have a lot of listicles or very seasonal articles, I just ran into a couple for a client of mine too, going, "Oh, I need to update
Mhm.
that because it was holiday Christmas light trail." It's like, oh, that's last
Yeah.
year's list. I got to update it and make sure the ones that are still doing it, and the different images and such too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
the just a quick if you don't have an FAQ page yet, or if you do have FAQ sections, this is also a great time to think about what your users asked you during, let's say this is your slow season. In the past 9 months, what questions did your users ask you, or when people are applying for your services or purchasing a product? Add those to the FAQs. If you do sell products or merch, maybe let's say you have t-shirts that you're selling for your podcast, maybe adding in a little bit more to the description, the quality, the care, how to wash it, et cetera, et cetera. So think of these questions that you've gotten from people and then apply that to your site. Update your case studies or testimonials or remove the dates so that
Mhm.
way it's still fresh. So if a testimonial came in 5 years ago, which to me does not sound like that far away, but to others it might. I would just remove the date maybe and ensure that it still feels like it's new.
Yeah, makes sense. That makes sense. So, what can business owners do with their social media during slow seasons?
Yeah, so I'm sure that our other part of this podcast can she can talk about social media, but from my point of view, really just look back and see what you've done. Look it back and see how much time did you spend on social media. What did it do? So like if you didn't spend that much time, but it still grew, what really supported that growth? Look for at a high level, and I'm sure in other episodes we're going to dive deeper, but look at the content performance and just again, what was an engagement like? Did a lot of people like a post but not comment? Or did one of your posts get a lot of comments? Did video do better than regular posts? And did carousels do better than video? Just look at all those things and then look at really planning and scheduling posts for the upcoming months. So again, we're in slow season. Once you get more business in, you're going to be really busy, and that schedule, that social media is just going to drop off again. So look at creating a plan of action and just scheduling those posts. And honestly, if you're just kind of frozen, you don't even know what to post, look at the holidays that are coming up. So we all know 2025, it's coming up, all the holidays. Just schedule those out, right? Even if it's throughout the year. So at least you've got your holidays covered. Then you can say, all right, what other promotions might I be doing? What do I want to showcase? Well, maybe I might want to post something about my business anniversary or my birthday or whatever it is. Schedule those. So try to tackle it from holidays, then some high level business stuff. And then you can get into the nitty gritty once you're in that flow of, oh, I just went to a networking event. I should probably post this. But at least at a high level, you
Mhm.
have something going out.
Right.
I would say, and you can ask other social media people, but you can possibly repost something, or post a different video of the same event. Just it's a different video, and it could be a look back at what we did last year for Black Friday, etc., and the mad rush in our store. But it's a look back. Um, and then just look at the engagement activities, consider running polls or asking questions to really engage your audience. Share behind the scenes content to really connect with those followers and just make it personal. People love getting to know, especially for small businesses, who are you buying from, right? We don't really care who the owner of Target is and Walmart, like we don't really follow them, but when it comes to small businesses, it's really your story and your message. And so they want to see that behind the scenes. And then collaborate, start making a list of potential partners that you can reach out to so that you can collaborate on not just your podcast or your services, but also on social media. Yeah, just use this time to create a content calendar and think about upcoming months, think back at how you did, what you did, and try to plan for some engagement so that when business does pick up, you're ready.
Yeah, we could probably I mean, we should do an episode dedicated to collaboration of,
Hmm.
how to go about it, best practices, how to keep your end up.
Yeah.
Both are, because hey, it's easy enough to go, oh man, I haven't done for that. What's that look like?
Hmm.
I think, that's probably one of the least looked at opportunities because it is a little bit of work to them, a lot,
Hmm.
a lot of work sometimes. It just comes down to who you're working with too. Yeah.
Hmm.
How should small businesses approach email marketing during the slow
Yeah.
times?
Yeah, so I would say really, if you, so it depends on where you're at. If you have not
Yeah.
emailed your subscribers, consider reconnecting with them. And this is typically, you can totally be honest with them and send them an email, say, hey, we got super busy and here's what we've been up to. So it's almost like sorry, I haven't emailed you in a while, but here's all the cool things that we did. That's always nice. If you sell something, maybe you can even give them a certain percentage. So if it is luxury handbags, you can get 20% off your next order using this code as we try to reconnect with you. That might not be the proper verbiage, but try to reconnect with them in some way. And then same thing with social, right? I would say look at a high level view of the holidays that are coming up for throughout a year, 12-month span, and try to at least have some drafts set up for those newsletters. So if you know that your Mother's Day is a big thing for your business, then just draft a newsletter for Mother's Day. And that way, when it does get closer, you can go in, make some tweaks to it, and then schedule it to go out. That's the beauty of a slow season. I mean, we all, again, nobody likes a slow season, but this is when you can get those done. So think about those newsletters, what kind of promotions you could potentially give or content. Personalized emails, make sure you're segmenting, and depending on your brand, you can personalize the email. You can dive deep into segmentation, and this can be a whole nother thing. But let's say I'm a frequent buyer. You can personalize it by what brands I typically buy from you. Or if you just have a very general list, you can start to see the data of when I send this out on this topic about SEO, these group of people, these users really click and open that email. So that can start to give you some data. um, yeah, think about exclusive offers. People love feeling like they're VIP. And then just add value. Think about what you could provide, what kind of content you can provide during the slow season, but also going forward. And don't be afraid of, for example, if your season of an episode or podcast
Mhm.
is only so many episodes long, right? You can always look back and say, just remember again, maybe put a little bit of copywriting spin on this, but showcase an interview that you really loved, or pull out some snippets and link to it, because somebody might have missed that episode, or they might really be interested in listening to it again. So even if you don't have any new content, you're taking a break, kind of just send them back to the content that you've created before, whether it's a blog post, an old podcast episode, so on. But that'll kind of keep everything going with your newsletter.
I like your idea about the segmenting, especially if you do, let's say, an interview podcast. And
Mhm.
you were talking a lot more of product and such, but let's look at it as a podcaster, and you have a variety. Yeah, of course, you have your niche. Let's say it's about entrepreneurs, but maybe there are certain entrepreneurs that you are topics you talked about. Maybe it's more of let's uh, pizza entrepreneurs. I don't know. You had a few of those, or something about the food. Let's say
Mhm.
let's make it a little bit broader, food, and those emails, those episodes actually did a little better. You could segment the recipients of those. They have a little bit more interest in food and segment it out and kind of know, okay, from then on, maybe I need to do something a little special for those foodies,
Yeah.
entrepreneurs sort of thing. Again, it's the start of being creative.
Yeah.
Segment it in the back end and kind of know you have that arsenal when it's ready, kind of going, oh, I can send something even a little, maybe you're sending that segment an opportunity to hear the episode before anybody else does because you
Yeah.
know they're really excited about hearing
Mhm.
foodie entrepreneurs.
Yeah, so let's see. Okay, I get it. Like, so it's easier, a little bit easier for product-based
Mhm.
businesses, but let's say it is a service-based business
Yeah.
and you do have a podcast. Well, if you have been emailing them and you see that there's a certain segment or a group of people that just open up more of those, again, SEO emails
Hmm.
versus emails that you sent out just about the company, right? So
Yeah.
take a look at the subject line and all that, but you can, depending on your email platform, you can create an automated segment, or you can manually create a list of these people. So you can start pulling apart that data. And the cool thing about slow seasons is that you can think about A/B testing. So if
Yeah.
your list is big enough, so one of the tests that we ran with a local shop here in Columbus is the shop is run by a woman, and people know her because it's a high end product. She's the only one there. She helps you curate this thing. So because people know her, we were testing out, do we put her name, like her name, you know, of, for example, if it was me, it would be Yasmine of Robles Designs as
Right.
the from portion of the email. So that's one A/B test that you can
Mhm.
do. So for you, Brett, it could be Brett of Circle 270 Media
Yeah.
is sending me an email. It's the same info at
Mhm.
whatever maybe, but now I feel like Brett is sending me an email versus just the company Circle 270 Media. So think about those kinds of
Hmm.
A/B tests, subject lines, and these are things that you can start preparing and just setting up drafts, and then you have them done. So when you do get busy, you're like, oh, I kind of wanted to do an A/B test. I don't have any ideas for right now. I'm going to go and to my library of drafts and send one of these out. So that's an A/B test. The other A/B test that you could do is the content within. So if everything else
Hmm.
is the same, you can test out the visual. So is a green button better than a red button? Is an inline link better than the button? shorter emails versus longer emails. You can test all that out. And this is a good time during slow season to do that because when we're slammed and we forget all about everything. So,
Yeah. This is a little bit of a deep dive, but the question came to mind. I'd love the A/B testing idea. Is there a minimum newsletter subscriber base that it will work with in regards to giving you the better results? Not better results, but results that actually have some meat to the bone.
yeah, I mean, you can always do, I would say, if you have over 50 people, if you really want to, if you
Really?
have the capability, you can do an
Okay.
A/B test. It won't give you like amazing amount of data,
Okay.
right? Because it's just 50 people. Where it really has worked well is 1,000 people or
Okay.
more
Okay.
on the list. And then you can start A/B testing. This one person has close to 5,000.
Mhm.
Some of our other clients have more. And if you are, let's say you are a product-based business, or let's say you run a lot of events, you can start creating what can be called a segment or affinity. Basically, what, especially if you have products, if this person buys more of this widget,
Mhm.
let's now feed them more information about that particular widget.
All
Or in some cases, I believe Klaviyo, MailChimp, and a couple of the other ones now have dynamic content. And this doesn't just apply for product design, or sorry, product
right. Mhm.
sellers, but you can insert dynamic content based on the user in a very simplest form. If you have Klaviyo and it's a product-based business, and I've created a segment that is of people who really love buying widget A,
Mhm.
they can we can design the email so that it'll show widget A categories because we know that you love that, right?
Mm.
So there's a lot, and then you can go into bigger and bigger formats. But
Yeah.
I would, back to your question about how many.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it with 50 people. Just
Okay.
know that that data isn't like the best,
Mhm.
but it gets your feet wet and it gets you used to doing A/B tests and gets you knowing the platform. Because if you
All
are
right.
a small business owner, you're probably both the email designer and the owner and the finance person. So just taking this time to like test out without having to rush would be nice because all
W-
platforms are
w-
hectic.
Well, it's a tool that you want to be able to use the most effectively, that you have 100% control of. It's not social media. It's everything you do about it is yours. So why not be the most efficient you can with it and really understand the recipients
Mhm.
with that? That
Yeah,
makes sense.
and even if an A/B test sounds like it's a lot, it's a perfect opportunity during slow season to really go in and send out a really short survey.
Mhm.
Or even if you just say hit reply and tell me, if you follow us on Facebook, whatever that may be,
Yeah.
like a very short email, try to figure out, it's slow season. If you're a service-based business, what topics do you want to hear about on our podcast?
Yeah.
It could be hit reply. And
Yeah.
so this is a great opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that's a great idea in regards to topics, especially because you always run into that wall of, okay, we've covered this so many times. I don't know whether the listeners are tired of this or not. I'm not, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about that. But do a general poll, and then you add it to the episode. Going, yep, you overwhelmingly said you liked it. We'll keep doing it, sort of thing. Yeah, that it's
Mhm.
you are basically confirming you're listening to your audience. That's a great idea. Yeah, exactly. So, any final thoughts on what else businesses can do during slow seasons?
Yeah, I have a few. This is just from my experience, and I would love to know if anyone has any other ideas. But this is a really good time for networking and really taking the opportunity of you do have more free time, so you can go out and network a little bit. So joining local events, and I have the ones that are close to my heart, but look out in the community for community events, trade shows, connecting with other businesses. Sometimes there is a cost to attending the events, but certain organizations might be willing to do some kind of trade. Sometimes conferences, if you volunteer, they will let you in. So think of it
Yeah.
that way. Collaborating with peers. So go out and have tacos and tequila with like people in your network, right? With people from local organizations, just see what the market's like, what they're experiencing, and then look at local organizations that you can partner with for joint marketing efforts. On the note of organizations, if you are part of a chamber or any organization that has a directory or has benefits, look through the benefits that you get. So if it's that they can post a social something on social for you, or maybe the directory you need to update your phone number, just look through those and make sure that you're utilizing them appropriately. Look at networking events, workshops, webinars, and this is more for your professional development, just to learn a few new skills. And then build those online connections. So you might be stuck with the kids somewhere, right? But you might be able to go on LinkedIn. I mean, pay attention to your kids. I'm not going to tell you not to. But if you're just sitting there because at a soccer game or something, then you could potentially go on LinkedIn, see what other people are doing, comment, etc. Just to, again, build up those connections with people. People are usually pretty nice, especially if you message them with a question and not
Yeah.
in a salesy way.
Yeah.
And then volunteer or join a board. I love doing volunteer work and board work. Sometimes it zaps a lot of time off my hands, but it really feels like you're giving back. It feels like you're part of a community, if it aligns with your values, and you just feel like you're moving forward, even though you're in kind of a slow season. And you'd be surprised at how much it can help sales when you just show up as a volunteer versus trying to be salesy.
Hmm.
But yeah, engage with your local businesses, organizations, craft these new opportunities, have a coffee chat with someone, collaborate, look for partnerships. I guess overall, just make friends.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
go
and
out and make friends.
yeah, exactly. Well, it's a little bit easier than it used to be because we have Zoom now that everybody's used to Zoom. So it's not even literally having to go out and get a cup of coffee. You can do it this way, 15,
Yep.
20 minutes done,
Hmm. Yep.
and you've connected, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So our episode obviously brought some ideas to mind for me to ask you. I'm sure the listeners the same way. How can they get a hold of you to explore a few more of these ideas? They know slow time's coming, but they maybe want a bit more oomph push to do it, or
Mhm.
at least kind of go, yeah, give yourself that slow time to figure some things out. How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'm more active on LinkedIn. So if you go to LinkedIn, search up Yasmine Robles, and you'll find me there. You can find us on roblesdesigns.com. You can also download our free website checklist that you can use during a slow season to look through your site, and that is roblesdesigns.com/checklist. But yeah, I'm always happy to do a coffee chat, even if it's virtual, and just go through and brainstorm. Brainstorming is my favorite. It's usually the doing of the task that is not, but
Right.
brainstorming is great, and especially over coffee with some good conversation.
Yeah, exactly. I'm available at mypodcastguy.com. Same thing. Just let's have an online discussion, brainstorm. I think all of us here at the Circle Sessions in the Circle of Experts, we love brainstorming. That is the most fun. It honestly is, because I love when you brainstorm with someone and they have this look in their face going, that's a cool idea, and
Mhm.
maybe something you never thought of either, but it's that reaction that you get, and they go with it and they do it and it works. It's so fun, because and
Mhm.
it takes 20, 30 minutes just to do,
Mhm.
and they're so wrapped up in their world that they just need that grace to have that 30 minutes of just, let's just brainstorm right now. Forget everything else and let's have some fun. And what
Mhm.
would you like? That sort of thing. And it just, it clicks, and they walk away, and they're re-energized, at least for a day, to do
Yeah.
some stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can book a time with me, mypodcastguy.com. My calendar's there, and love to talk with you. Thanks for joining me, Yasmine.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.